Hi, hi guys.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey,
Prashant. Hey, Bayan. Hi, Vivek.
hey, hi, Vim. Hey, Prashant.
Hey guys.
Hey.
He's coming. Rao,
Yes. Yeah.
Manuel will join in 30 minutes. So we'd like to start our presentation after 30 minutes. Is that okay? In 30
She's
minutes?
already here. She seems
Oh,
to.
she's here. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. Manuel, you're here. Okay, she told me. Okay, good.
yeah. Okay. Welcome to the Nephew 6 security meeting, weekly meeting. Let's give a minute more for folks to join in.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm going to just share the agenda for today. Please let me know if something is not included or something has to be included.
Okay.
Okay. In the interest of time, let's begin our discussions. Let me just quickly go through the previous uh, action items. If there's anything specific that we have to quickly go through, I don't think we have anything. Hey, this is a pull request that mm, is open for quite some time. This basically adds a badge to display the OpenSSF scorecard. Wade is on call, right? Like Wade.
Hello. Yeah,
Hey,
I'm
hey.
audible.
Yes, you are. Yes. So we should be able to see this kind of badge, right? That's the aim.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Vim, is it possible to merge this? This is a very simple change, just a addition of a badge. This has been asked before in the other, right? Like this is a single line change. So from 4.9 to 4.7 to the score is now improved to 6.6. It's better to have this tracked, if possible.
Yeah,
If
I'll
we
have a
can.
look.
Thank you.
What is it, 480?
480, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I know that few of the folks have asked for good first issues that they can handle as part of SIG security. So one of the action items that we have is to identify such kind of good first issues based on the charter that we have. Are there any other? So let me ask this: Ved, from the Clo monitor or from the OpenSSF, is there any specific action item that we can, or bunch of action items that we can create that people can take up, or are there anything like that?
Yeah, in the issue, the root issue, which I have created very first time regarding OpenSSL scorecard, in which we have shown the score of the OpenSSL. So, yeah, this one, second one.
Yeah, so this is OpenSSF checks, right? Like, and we still see that there are certain things like SAST and some of these things.
Yeah,
The score is 0, which is a big problem. My
yeah.
understanding is
So
we have some SAST tool that are scanning, right?
yeah, so we can create the issue out of these by analyzing these charts, and we can get work started,
Okay.
improve the score.
Is it possible for you to just add up a bunch of tasks here that we can ask folks to just look at
Yeah,
443, and then that would be
sure.
super. Thank you. Same. If there's, I don't know whether there's anything different for Clue Monitor. If we can add a bunch of tasks here, that would be nice as well. People are looking to participate in the SIG, and they're looking to take up some issues. These could be low hanging fruits, right? Like, and this also
Yeah,
helps us with the best practices.
yeah, sure.
Thank you. With that said, anything else before we move on to our most important agenda item for today?
Yeah, basically, I had got a notification from the Glow Monitor side that they have created a LF networking deposit the folder inside the Glow Monitor, so we can add Nephew to that Glow Monitor side. So that's a good thing, and I'll be applying the changes and pushing it to that
Oh, brilliant,
repo.
brilliant, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Wait, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So basically, Nephew added a section in LFN for LFN in Glow Monitor, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. If you can share that information on the Slack channel, it would be nice.
Sure. I'll be sharing that link to the PR.
Fantastic.
We
Thank you.
there we had the same comment.
Thank you very much. I see Barun's hand raised. Barun?
It was in context of SAST. So I was recently working with OpenSSF scorecard as well. So I noticed that the badge only checks for code quell on GitHub. So any other SAST is not contributing towards the badge score. So we might just enable code quell as an advanced tool, or like check with OpenSSF, like if we can change the formatting to support whatever SAST we are using currently.
I think it should be possible to look at the alternatives in the links that are specified, right? Like my assumption is that we would have a way to check what are the possible options on this link.
Yeah, it's only SAST. That's only code quell. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Runs code quell. Remediation step, run code quell checks in your CI/CD.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
They do say that, okay, it's fine if you are, but they are not able to change the score to right now.
I see.
If
I see. Fair enough. I think one more other action item is that, we need access to the OpenSSF portal. So Ken is working towards it. I don't think we have any other point, but yeah. If you think there is something specific that we can do, Barun, if you have any specific recommendation, what we can do in the context to make sure that SAST is could be enabled, it would be nice to know.
Enabling code quell is easy, right? It's GitHub native code like SAST tool. So we just need to make a PR. I'll open an issue or PR to handle that, and we can see from there, like if the community accepts that or not.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. At this point, I think I can hand it over to Manuela. Manuela, are you set? Do you want to share the screen?
Daniela, you want me to share screen?
Okay. Share
You want to
screen.
share or you want me to share? It's up to you.
Well, I can share too. Let me say that we do it together. Maybe this time you put some context more than me. We can do it together. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you see my screen? Because I pushed the button, but not sure.
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, it's coming.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not that. Not the. You see, guys? I don't see. Oh.
I can see the
Okay.
screen. It's
Yeah,
showing
I see the screen now. Okay, got it. It was slow. Okay.
Okay. Let's say first of all that maybe we are not so ready with a really well consolidated requirement, but we know that we are a little bit in a hurry because we need to finish by the end of the month. But anyway, we put together whatever is consolidated today, and I hope that we can then integrate something more. This that I'm sharing is the document that is changed a little bit. I think that the problem statement is exactly the same as we presented last time. And this is not present, but maybe another point that we need to address. Maybe this is not the higher priority, but for sure is an issue, is the fact that if we want really to provide full traceability and accountability from the external end user, external user to the final deployment in the traffic cluster. An issue is that the operation could be async, okay? And so it could be difficult to keep trace of the entire path, because maybe some user put in Porch and then in Git some modification, operation, whatever, and then the sync mechanism start just after a while to deploy all of this in the remote cluster. So even if we find a way to map the definition of the workload identity below with the user that we define in the AAM on the NBI interface of the system, anyway, there could be some disconnection point in the middle to really guarantee this full path. So this is not still written here, but I think that is a point that we have to address to have a full solution, to be honest, for this AAM. Okay. So anyway, instead these 5 points were the same as in the previous version, and we clarify a little bit the requirement according to the action point that we took last time, and also integrating the identity definition as a contribution of the last meeting, coming from sorry, I never remember the name, the workload identity spiffy stuff. Okay. Okay, then the requirement at this time are 9, 8, something like that. And anyway, for next time, I think that is better to integrate some other comment from you, but also maybe working a little bit more our side in Ericsson. So the first one, the first section is related to the core functional requirement, and we need to provide authentication and authorization. And we need to that our Nephew system will support the authentication for human users, for client machine to machine, and also for workload, and any resource that could be associated to an identity. We also have as a requirement to use a standard protocol, OIDC, as a preference, and we integrate the spiffy that we listened to the presentation last time. Here we put this further investigation because, to be honest, personally, I don't know in detail. So for sure, we have this requirement to have a relation between the OIDC standard protocol and a mechanism to provide identity of the workload in a multi-cluster solution. But maybe there is also something else. Let's investigate a little bit about spiffy and its main implementation, that is Spire. Then we have as a sub-bullet of this requirement the possibility to configure multi-factor authentication when we have human users. This we put here because is a typical requirement that comes from customers. I don't know if this is true also in your experience. Then after authentication, we have authorization too, and we need to extend the classic authorization mechanism based on the basic OIDC to introduce and integrate RBAC, TBAC, and EBAC. And it seems that EBAC is the best one to define the authorization based on policy with the fine grain definition related to single identities, workload identities. Okay, then there is the configuration part, meaning that once we have authentication and authorization, we can configure and customize a little bit how we want to do it, and maybe in different way. And so we configure a password policy and all the configuration related to the session and the lock of the user, disabling the user according to some attack, things like that. And then we have the typical configuration and creation of user, client, role, permission, and policy. And the attributes for define this fine grain authorization. Then we have also...
Michaela, one second.
Yeah.
So number 3, we try to the address we are achieving nephew security by administration configuration, not changing code. So number 3, explain about how we're gonna configure and how we administrate the user, client, and identity access control. That's what the criteria we define. So our goal is not to impacting nephew code. This is the typical security the handling by configuration, leveraging the open source and third-party vendor tools. Okay, that's right.
Absolutely. Yes, sorry, I didn't say at the beginning. If you want to go through, it's welcome, how to say. You wanted to go on?
Yeah, let's go number 4. Yeah, because there's several enhancements since last week. We get input from the team. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's finish this requirement and then you can go on with 4. Okay. This 3 is I was about the external IDP, meaning the end user federation, meaning that we have different use cases and scenarios, and the IDAM could be fully integrated inside the Nephew as written here, embedded IDP. But maybe the major part of the cases we're going to have some external IDAM, and then we have external IDP and IDP extension point that shall be supported. And this is also open to have a federation between the embedded IDP and whatever external one that is used, maybe also before that we go on with the Nephew system by the customer for the management of the identity of the traffic cluster all around. Okay, so more or less what's this? Byung, if you want, if you'd like, go on with it. Okay.
Yeah, before number 4, if you have, we put the list of Nephew role type for infrastructure workload. We put it here. If you see additional role, I think some document mentioned about, please put the comment here. And number 4 is about the federation. Wim and Tom, they talk about also Raul talk about the federation between workload cluster. So this is how we're gonna provide requirement, identity and access control federation of management and workload cluster. That's the some requirement. So how we're gonna federate. So they can authenticate user services within the same cluster and or propagate to another Nephew workload cluster by federation. That's the requirement. And then if you look at the notes, And as you see, the Kubernetes basic authentication, it doesn't cross the cluster. So that's why last time the Oren, they thinking about use of the SPIFFE and ONAP also we are studying it. So it looks like it could be a good candidate. So if you have any feeling suggestion on the SPIFFE, please let us know. But this current assumption is, okay, what if we're using SPIFFE based infrastructure and we can federate and we can propagate, we can achieve the federation here. Anyway, that's number 4. And if you go to number 5, but anyway,
I don't know why
right.
that is 6.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. Yeah, we're gonna fix it. So this one, nephew OIDC SPIFFE-based client access control. Still, we are talking about user access control. So here we are using the OIDC in a protocol and OS2-based authentication authorization. Desktop is a protocol and mechanism. So we, for example, we're not talking about implementation, Kickrock and Ingress and the OS2 proxy and on other proxy that's doing it. But if we want to make connection between user ID token to, if you scroll up a little bit, to the SPIFFE-based identity for workload access, for example, that is the way to do that. So this is how we're gonna map between the user identity to SPIFFE-based identity, and that's the one. So this is a good for only for user identity. We may not need SPIFFE, but the end-to-end identity between user and workload, and then if like a user coming in, I want to access particular workload services, then they have to make this convenient because we plan to expose our service using SPIFFE. That's why then if you're connecting that, then it will be more seamless, the connection. And also a second bullet, authorization decision shall be based on users' attribute and roles, which is part of the basic of the ABAC, and then associated SPIFFE identity. SPIFFE, when they generate identity, they take input from ID token with the user input and access token. So they look at the user attribute and roles, so they make decisions. So here they define policies, and then also PDP and the IDEM and policy framework should provide authorization decision based on attribute and roles. That's another requirement. If you go to 7, this is what Vims and Tom and the vowels the input, and we're gonna tackle the nephew workload access control. And then we think the SPIFFE is a good candidate, and then you can expose a service account, existing service account, to SPIFFE identity. SPIFFE identity is globally unique, so that means when they do federation, they can cross the cluster. So here number 7 described the workload access control. So for that, we're using some requirement for the SPIFFE, and also support fine-grained access control policy and define mapping between workload identity, user identity. This is for example, one of the reference implementation Spire, you can configure the mapping. This is kind of a workload toward the users. That means other one is user to workload. So that means inside Spire in the cluster, they can provide the mapping during runtime. So that's why we think we can make connection this way. So, and one of the notes, service mesh, I think the service mesh, we have a separate, this is separate topic. And then if we want to, service mesh can be integrated with the SPIFFE identity. So that's the one, we have some study ongoing, but the rest of them, logging support and auditability, that's we think is important, but it's low priority. If you scroll down the manual, there's the priority here.
Priority, okay.
Yeah, we think from we means Ericsson perspective, we want to introduce the management cluster item based on the OIDC and then the OS2 first, and then we're gonna define the workload identity, federation access control, based on SPIFFE, and then infrastructure and audit and traceability. We set the prior 3, but if you agree or not agree, that's fine, but just please comment us. And Manuela, back to you. So.
Exactly. And in my view, this audit and tracing is not, how to say, less important, but has to come after the, let me say, the first one are brick and the third one is a wall. So it can come just after, okay? Anyway, it's important too.
Rao has a question.
No, if you want to finish your,
okay.
if you want to complete, and then I can go for my questions.
Go.
Oh, all right. Okay. So thank you for updating the document. Appreciate you putting in all the requirements in this document. Few things, I was in the Nephew observability working group discussion yesterday night PST. And there was yet another requirement that came in from their side saying that when the edge clusters push in the telemetry metrics back to the management clusters, what is the way in which the authorization can happen? So there is one more use case that popped up yesterday Pacific time. So it's a requirement very similar to the authorization.
I was always alluding to, Rahul, is that
Right.
this is right. So this, I thought I expressed that requirement, right? But that we have today, it's management cluster to workload, but it will also be the reverse.
Correct. So it has already popped up. So they have explicitly. So that's great.
So that means, Rao, this is a request, request coming from the edge cluster, workload cluster toward the management cluster. How are we gonna provide authentication authorization? That's the question, right?
Yeah. The point is that during so as part of the observability infrastructure, the edge cluster is going to, the scraped data, the metrics is going to get pushed to the management cluster where all the servers reside. So how would the servers authorize which edge clusters are allowed to push what kind of metrics and all those things, right? Like, so all of a sudden, the same use case that previously we had been discussing about, there might be a reason why worker cluster might want to authorize to the management cluster. So that has started showing up as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in general, based on what Manuela presented, and thank you for your presentation as well. What I see is that we have OIDC, and for workload identity, we are still leaning towards SPIFFE, which is a good, which in my opinion is a good candidate. Now, one point that I don't understand, and Manuela, if you can go back to point number 7, bullet point number 7. Well, one thing that I don't understand is sub-bullet 3 shall define mapping between workload identities to user identities through the SPIFFE infrastructure workload to user. Now, what is the use case for that? Like, what do we mean by mapping workload identities to user identities? What does this mean?
Okay, maybe we need to better specify, but the idea is that we want to keep a relation, a link between the user, the one that perform the operation, and what happen below on the workload. Okay, meaning that all the operation come from the external interface. So there would be an application or a user. It's the same. In case of an application would be a client that go into the system and make some modification on Porch and then on Git, and then this as a result some modification on maybe a workload, and we want to keep a map between the originator, the trigger of the operation, and the modification itself on the workload. Is something is this one? I don't know, Byung, if you wanted to better explain. Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. The reason we are thinking about this is we like to make connection between user and workload through the SPIFFE identity. So that means user coming in, we know SPIFFE the workload, they know based on user roles and what the attribute they say, that we allow to access beyond to access Porch, for example. But if Porch try to initiate some, they want to get additional information going out, that means they have to be going out and coming in. We want to going through the OIDC. The user doesn't mean the human, the client, but that's why in case the workload is there talking to other services and has to going through the ingress and the ingress connecting to OIDC, then the user identity, not necessarily human user, client, that means they have to. So we try to make some kind of connection here. That's why.
So,
yeah,
so
and this is sorry, just another point is not only for tracing and logging, but is also to enforce the authorization, because maybe in the communication between two workload, also the permission depend on the originator of the operation. I mean, workload one could call an API that is running on workload two only if the originator, the user client, has the right role to do it. And so we need to keep them related. Okay, we have 3 points in this relation, not only the communication between the two workload, but also the author, the one that really want this communication.
So based on what I heard, it seems not to be a mapping, but an authorization rules, right? Like these are the set of users who are allowed to have access to these workloads. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that a mapping? When we say mapping, what I'm assuming is that a workload identity is mapped to a particular user identity. That's different.
Yeah, it's different, and we cannot just map the workload to a user, because I guess that we're going to have a lot of workload, and instead just not so many users, or at least not so many roles. So
You
at
can
least
redefine
yeah.
this word is maybe confused. Okay, so workload to user, some mapping, some not just direct mapping, some kind of a connection. That's maybe that's
I mean, that should.
So,
okay, let me say, we need to define the policy to define the authorization that include not only the two entities that are involved in the communication, but also the author of the trigger of this communication. Okay, we can explain better.
yeah, number 7, the main focus is service to service, the communication. So that's what across the like one service in the one workload cluster and talking to service in another workload cluster, and that's the kind of number 7 major roles. And then so this is could be corner case, but we just define more clarify. Okay.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
have a question in general. I mean, today we use cluster roles and roles and stuff like that, and role bindings, right?
In
Are you
Kubernetes?
planning? Yes.
Yeah, actually that's a nice so yeah, that why shouldn't we use the native infrastructure that Kubernetes provides for user management, group management, and all those things, right? Like eventually it can be mapped to OIDC, like even when we today make use of managed Kubernetes clusters, for example on AWS or GCP, there is a Kubernetes user which is eventually mapped to an IAM role in the AWS part. But under the hood in the Kubernetes cluster itself, there is a mapped user, right? Like that's operating.
Yes. But the idea is exactly that one. We have a role in the how to say general AAM, but this need to map the role that we have below. At least for, let me say, AAM contain a lot of role to do a lot of different operation, not only on Kubernetes cluster, but also administration, management, porch, and whatever. But when the operation is related to something that has to be changed in a Kubernetes cluster, then here the role, as you said, in Kubernetes are mapped into the role in the AAM. And the token could be used, the mapper inside the OIDC token are used to map the role below to the role on top. I try to do some POC on this, and I think it's working well.
Oh, great. Oh, great. So something like that. Okay.
Not something that I can show is too terrible.
No.
But it's working.
Shishu has his hand raised for some
That's
time.
the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of points. So I sort of, agree in some sense that, role and role binding should be sufficient in this case. For service to service, in any case, we have SPIFFE, right? Because that's anyway workloads. So I believe unless, we have a sort of a solid use case, maybe, we can, at least delay it. I mean, more of, unless we get a, I guess whatever, if the use case, whatever Manuela has, I think that is useful. But in general, I think this becomes, it adds so much more complexity, right? We already have a bunch of user identities and SPIFFE identities and the mapping between them. So, and that's one point. It's up to, I guess,
I agree.
just a thought. The other thing was that in case of, I think Rahul, you were mentioning about authorization of workload clusters pushing metrics to this one, right? The management cluster. So wouldn't service mesh be able to handle that sort of a case? Because we'll be
No, service mesh would be able to handle, but eventually, Shiv, on what basis will the authorization happen, right? Like there we need some sort of identity to play a role. How would we know that a particular workload should be allowed to be calling an API on the management cluster, which allows it to push the telemetry, right? Like, so that's where it comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, so service mesh anyway, we have SPIFFE identities, right? I think that's what is already there.
Yeah.
Right?
So it comes under the workload identity part.
If the service mesh has a SPIFFE, then they can cross the cluster, right?
Correct.
That's the federation, between the management cluster and workload cluster. There is a SPIFFE federation. That one of the diagram below, and we tried to explain, but there's a federation, not just simple. Just keep going. Not this. This one. No, not previous one. Sorry.
This is a mapping.
Previous. So this is kind of a some kind of a anyway. I don't specify about that.
Right.
Anyway, so this is the idea is SPIFFE can federate between cluster to cluster. So if you have service mesh, some workload, from edge cluster and talking to management cluster is possible, or we have to go through the ingress. That's another possibility. But anyway, once we're using SPIFFE, then maybe we can simplify. But we'll see. But there's so many options. So in ONAP case, if one cluster talking to another cluster, we going through egress and then come back to ingress to other service provider cluster. Then going through OIDC, that's why user identity comes in the picture. And this, but I think the Spire and then SPIFFE federation, they can do federate this way. So that means it's possible. So Shiv, back to you.
Yeah, that's all. The thoughts which I had.
A comment is that someone said that there is some use case that is too complex, and I agree on this. And I think we need to spread in the time, meaning that we need to think to everything, at least theoretically from the beginning, in order to to set up an infrastructure that is open to support also complex use cases, but then start pragmatically to implement what we need at the beginning, and maybe the simplest one. So
True. Yeah, true.
So this is okay.
So Manuela and I, we work on this, and then this is a still work in progress. And then if you have any comment, please, feel free to come here. And then especially workload identity. And if you have any concern and any suggestion, please feel free to contact Manuela and myself and Brian. Then we definitely want to work internally in Ericsson, and then we are thinking about this month, right? End of this month, we have to provide decent proposal. So that's what our plan is. So please provide comment to us, and then we're gonna share again version 3.
Yes.
So the intention is to get a slot in the RX scope working group for next week,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
this
yeah.
and tell the team what the SIG security is thinking about. Okay, cool.
So, the route I mentioned before, the manual mentioned priority. We set 3 priority. That's the manual, we think. So, but please provide comment because we cannot do everything. Especially audit tracing is a huge topic, another topic. Logging is another architecture I, create for ONEP, but that's another big area. So maybe we set the priority this way, but if you have some suggestion, just
I
let
think
us know.
in terms of logging, like when we say logging and auditing, my understanding is that we are talking about the identity pieces and the auditing and logging requirement in the context, not setting up an infrastructure for auditing and logging by ourselves. That is something that is taken up by the Nephew observability working group.
Yeah.
Let them,
That's why we put the disclamation here, because logging and the auditing it can be handled by external stack, for example. And in ONEP, the same thing. The Nephew and security component, they responsible just generate the security log. Okay, the collection. If you keep scrolling down, and that is why I give you one example. One more, yes.
Login. One
So
more.
yeah,
Login.
this one. So that means that this is the whenever the application, they generate the log data through the standard error standard out even security component, and beyond that all the yellow the orange the component is third party. So vendor operator, they can choose their choice and then collect and aggregate and persistent and then valid visualization, and then all the engage in the CM product. That's up to them. That's why I think the Nephew for now code, they generate certain log information. As long as they can generate standard spend error, we can collect. Not we means operator or somebody else. So anyway, okay. So that's why we set the priority. Yeah.
But this is okay. Is to explain, but it is not exactly in the scope of this AAM.
No.
Okay.
No.
But instead, when we say tracing. Okay, maybe we speak about the logging, but it's not exactly logging. We assume that the logging is already there. And traceability, for traceability and accountability, we also need to log. When we collect the log, has to be shall be clear which is the author of the operation. And then you can find, okay, this point is in scope, but it's not log in general. Logging is assumed to be there or in another.
That's exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna define. I don't know how much detail we need to define, but this is what we stop at here. But based on comment, and we're gonna provide more and more study. So okay. And I shared this at the document link. Raul, you asked this. Let's go.
Thank you.
Yes, this is that I'm sharing is the published.
Different, right?
Yeah.
So okay.
Okay. Excellent. Any other points that we need to discuss today?
Yeah, so Rahul, one quick point regarding the secrets user story. So I have updated it, and so Tom, probably you can just take a look at it. I think that would be nice if you can take a look at it.
Yep, sure thing.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Updated the task list. Anything else that we need to talk? I think we are good. The review is required. So the next Tuesday meeting, we'll take back the action items to the RX working group, RX scope working group, and then one thing I couldn't find is, where do you find the calendar for RS scope working group? I couldn't find it anywhere. Like, I tried to go to the calendars. Is anyone aware where to look for it? I
Maybe
spent a lot of time
share the link.
figure
Someone
out
share the
yesterday.
link then.
Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll reach out on Slack anyways.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, we can close early, unless, I'll 30 seconds more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maniela.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.